In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the exact cost of owning a single family home, average priced single family home in Florida, if you are one of the many people that says, I want to buy something in Florida, I'm going to use it January, February, March, and then I want to rent it the rest of the year to offset the cost. So if you're one of those people that you're thinking about buying something in Florida and your thought process is that you want to buy it and then maybe you just want to have the option of renting it part of the year, maybe you're going to use it in the summer because you realize that you're going to get the highest rent during season. Maybe you're somebody that wants to buy it in front of your retirement. Maybe you're somebody that really does only plan to use it a couple, 2-3 times a year. You don't have any set schedule for when you're coming and going, but you want to have that option open. So your thought is, I will buy the home and then the renter will pay for it. So grab your coffee. We're going to get into some real numbers. All right, now, if this is the first time we're meeting, you just so happened upon this channel, I am glad you're here. Let me introduce myself. My name is Barrett Pastor, and I've been a real estate broker for 27 years. So hopefully, I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience, and I can help you navigate all things Florida real estate. I do offer one-on-one consultations. So we do a Zoom link and we meet face-to-face virtually, and we can talk all about what your goals are, what your real estate goals are. Is this something that you might want to do? So I do offer consultations. If you're interested, I'll leave a link here and also down in the description box. So let's jump into this. Now I'm going to make up a house. We established in a video that I did last week that the median sale price for single family homes in Florida right now is $1.2 million. So there's that. But we're not going to do that. We are going to be somebody that gets in on the lower end of that because your first house does not have to be the most expensive house, especially if you're going to rent it. I mean, think through that a little bit. And I would say this to you. This is the first thing I ask people that say they want to buy something and also rent it out. I always say, okay, couple things you need to think through. Number one, who is your client? Is it you or is it the renter? Is this for ROI, return on investment, or is this for your personal pleasure? Because those two people could have very different needs. For example, your wife might want only white cabinets and a big kitchen island. The renter doesn't care. You may want an outdoor summer barbecue area where you can put a giant TV and watch the football games and watch them from your pool. But your ROI may say, not a good idea because your insurance is going to be high to have that pool sitting like that. So two different people. Keep that in mind. That is number one. And then the other thing I would ask you is, are you good with having random strangers? Let's just say you rent it 3 times a year to random strangers that you get on VRBO, vacation rental by owner, or home away, or whatever it is you decide to use. Are you okay with random strangers sleeping in your bed, using your bathroom, walking through your house? You know, does that bother you? Does it bother you? If it does, you need to reconsider this. If you're okay with it, then let's move on. All right, are you ready? Get your pen and paper out. We're going to assume a $600,000 house. Now, you can get a really nice $600,000 house in Venice, Welland Park, Northport, Punta Gorda, Bonita, Estero. Naples gets a little tricky, but it's doable. You can do it. So we have a lot of areas. You can also go over on the other coast. You can go to Melbourne. You can go to Stewart. You can go to let me just put it this way, the Villages, many areas that you can find some nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool or not, big lanai, for $600,000. So that's what we're going to use. Now we're going to make the assumption that you're going to use your house from time to time. So if you're going to use it from time to time, then you cannot accept an annual renter. So what is the good and the bad with that? With an annual renter, if they're paying, then you're going to have your full, like you're 100% occupied. So you have full boat on the rental there. But if you're going to use it from time to time, you can't take a renter like that, right? So let's say that you're okay with visiting your own property during the summer because the kids are still in school and you want to have your friends come and everybody's much more available in the summer. So your plan is to maximize profitability. You're totally fine with having some vacancy. So you're going to rent it the highest that you can during season. And we're going to give you 4 months during season. So you have fully rented it the entire month of December, January, February, and March. So we're going to give you 4 months. Now you might say, well, is that even realistic, or couldn't I rent it more than that? Here's the thing. Yes and no. Your highest numbers by far are going to be during those months. We generally tell people in the off season, you're going to cut that in half and sometimes even lower. So you have to do the math on that. But if you're a person who wants to use your property, then you don't have that available to you anyway. So let's say on your $600,000 house, you paid cash for it, and you're going to rent that for $6,000 a month. Now you might say, well, where did you get $6,000 a month from? It's a bit of the average on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. There's a decent amount of them available, but it's a bit of the average unless you're walking distance of the beach, something really unique like that. And really, I would argue that walking distance to the beach is going to be probably the only thing that would get you those very, very high numbers. So let's just use $6,000. I can come up with probably 40 of them right now that are in that range. So $24,000 gross number that you're working with. All right, now I'm going to look over here to the side. I'm going to scoot over and pop up something I put together here. So here's our annual rental income of $24,000. Property taxes at $7,000. So I would say somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 maybe. You have to factor in, did you homestead? Because that's going to get you a discount. And also, are you in a CDD? So I'm going to just kind of put it right in the middle of where I think it'll fall-ish for your property taxes at $7,000. Then we're going to move to homeowners insurance. So I did this at $4,000 for the year. Probably around the right number, but it also could be higher. How could it be higher? Well, it depends on what you're doing globally. It's very hard to bundle in Florida because the big carriers are not in Florida. There might be 1 or 2, but that's it. Also, are you in a floodplain? Also, how much are you choosing to insure? So I'm just going to use $4,000. We'll use that number. If you're on water, even if you buy like in Cape Coral and you're on a canal, that number is going to be at least double. So know that. All right, I also took a reasonable HOA at $500 a month. Now you may say, really, Barrett, you find that to be reasonable? Not me personally, but that is what the area seems to think is a reasonable number for a gated community, which a lot of people ask for, especially if you're going to snowbird or you're going to do something like what we're talking about now. They want that lock and leak. They want that sense of security. So that tends to run in the $500 a month range. If you have tennis and pickleball and beautiful grounds and maybe a resort pool, these are the things that are going to get you that $6,000 a month rental. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not paying that much on an HOA. You can go buy something that has 0 HOA fees, but you might also get 0 renters. So keep that in mind. So we're going to do that $6,000 a year. Now we're just going to throw in some maintenance here. at 1% of the home value, so we'll say $6,000 a year. Now, what could that be? Maintenance on the pool. Maintenance on the pool cage. You know, sometimes squirrels, things like that, they rip a screen out. It happens. A big wind can take a screen out. Those type of things. Landscaping. Now you might say, well, hold on a minute, for $500 a month, I want my grass cut. You will get your grass cut. You know what you will not get? Trimming of the palm trees. There are some things that you will have to take care of yourself, generally speaking. And also, you need to think about your AC. That AC is going to run, air conditioner is going to run all year round for the most part. So most people are on a service agreement at once a quarter or twice a year. So these are some things that have to be maintained. So we're going to do that at 1%. Now, if you're going to utilize a management company to manage the phone calls, manage the credit pulling, manage the money coming and going, if you're going to utilize that, I use 10%, but I'm going to tell you honestly, I only did that because I said, you're going to do it yourself. Full service management, let's put it in the middle at 10%. Generally speaking, for the most part, in at least the area that I work, which is going to be Southwest Florida, from Sarasota all the way down to Marco Island, so Naples, Bonita Springs, Estero, all in through there. On an annual tenant, generally speaking, a property management company is going to charge you between 11 and 12% of the gross rental income. On a seasonal rental, generally for full service, they're going to charge you 20%. So that's the going number here. So kind of plug that in. That could be a variable for you. If you can swing it on your own, then you can almost eliminate this cost. But if you're doing that, I would definitely increase your maintenance because you're going to have to hire people to come in. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. All right, utilities. I'm going to pop in $2,400 for the year because if you put a cap on utilities, so I see this all the time where people will say utilities included up to $100 or up to $200. It's not even going to come close. There's going to be some you cover, some they cover. And when you're telling the tenant that you're going to have to go back and calculate how much they spent utilities, for a lot of renters, I can tell you this from experience, they're just going to back away from that property because they feel like that's confusing. Give me the number. So you're almost better on that to just increase the rent to cover it. You'll get a lot more people. You'll attract a lot more renters that way. But that said, we're going to plug in a number. All right, so where do we land? We have $27,800 in our annual expenses. That is leaving us a net annual loss of $3,800. Now, is that horrible? No. Could you live with that? Maybe. That's not a bad loss. Is that going to be an exact? No, but that gives you a roundabout. If you can get a little bit higher rent, that might help. If you can rent a couple extra months, that's going to cover it. Not bad. Here's where it gets wonky. So I went ahead and I said, well, what happens if we bought this with 20% down? Well, if we have to throw a mortgage in with those same numbers, look what happens. We have a huge loss at that point. Then it's not really worth doing because look at the loss. It's $42,000. So if you're paying cash, you can probably make that work. Now you might say, really, Barrett, who's got $600,000 just laying around in a drawer? Some people will pull a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, on their house up in Michigan, up in Iowa, wherever it is you live. Some people will pull a HELOC on that, and then they come down and they buy cash. But technically, that is cash. So you can do it that way. There are a lot of people that have self-directed IRAs or whatever it may be that you can utilize to create a cash scenario. It's all around better if you can do cash, because even your acquisition costs, your closing costs, are going to be a lot lower in Florida if you pay cash, if you have the ability to do it. So I'm hoping that made sense to you. I'm hoping that clarified things for you. A lot of times people just get this sort of pipe dream that this will work. And will it work? Yes, but you do have to be a little bit careful about the numbers you're plugging in.